It's what the Palestinians say. We want just the 1967 borders. That's fine with us.
And a lot of
they go. No. This is not okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It's this political agenda and political push from Netanyahu and Benny Gantz and whatever, who they use the idea that it's a Jewish state and they're trying to get back the land for the Jewish cause, which I can completely understand, but it's at the expense of people having their houses demolished.
Yeah, but
and land taken away from them that they have a lot of connection with. They can trace their families' generations back and back to back, and it's sort of being wiped out.
Yeah. But also, I think a lot of people don't when you look at it in the West, you look at a situation like Israel and Palestine, and you talk to some people say the Palestinians should stop bombing Israel and all this nonsense. You look at but you tell them that Hamas, the most radical Palestinian organization, terrorist if you want to call them that, they said we're happy to accept the state of Israel based on the 1967 borders. That's that's the terrorist organization saying we will we can have peace if we go back to these 1967 borders. The war, everything should have stopped then, and they should have just gone. That was
exactly.
It was 10 years ago now. Everyone should have realized. Okay, we can figure this out now. But because in the Likud party, the party that's been ruling Israel for a long 10 years now, 12 years now, in their charter it says everything west of the Jordan River is Israel, which is all of Palestine. So the Israeli government that everyone thinks is the rational, kind of group of people that it's trying to defend themselves, they believe all the Palestinian land is their land, given to them by God.
And same with the Blue and White Party.
But the Palestinians don't have that view. They have the view that we want our state and you can have your state. We're ready to recognize you if you recognize us. And the comparison between the two is just so ridiculous, because you have one that the one that people claim are terrorists are ready to recognize Israel.
Yeah, that's the fact that Hamas is being seen as the rational.
Well, they're not being seen as that.
But by
all the media paints them as the radicals. They are radical.
We're in this conversation that they're seen as the rational ones, the one that willing to accept something.
Yeah,
shows how drastic.
But no one talks about that.
But that's
never in the
media. But I'm not saying that they are rational. But the fact that in this conversation right now that we're having, that they're seen as rational compared to the Blue and White and the Likud.
Yeah,
and that it just shows that there's something wrong with the Israeli message. There's no acceptance that maybe we can come to an agreement based on how other people and how the other countries feel, not based on this is exactly what we want and we don't want anything less. And then if we get they will not accept any criticism, and America just justifies that.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
And
one of the craziest things I've ever noticed was last year I spent most of my time in South America, traveling around, and for some reason there are so many Israelis there. They all finish their military service and start traveling, and I've never met a nationality of people with the least divergent of opinion. Every single one of them I met, except for one. I would have met hundreds, but I only met one that was supportive of the Palestinian cause. Every single other one was no, the land's ours. The Palestinians weren't there before. We were there first. They're moving into our land. We should just take the whole thing. All of them are they're all 99% all had the exact same opinion.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. You don't meet another society like that where the majority of people have that kind of opinion.
Even if you go to that's why they're so strong. The Israel, those parties are so strong in the country, because I'm not saying that they're brainwashed, but they're sort of.
You could say that.
Yeah, but the Israelis say that about the Palestinians, which I definitely disagree with. But in a sense, they're brainwashed into thinking this is normal. This is such a normal thing that these people, these Arabs, these Palestinian Arabs are out to kill you. Which there's some truth to that. I'm not saying that there's no terrorists on the Arab side.
Oh no, of course.
But
you still have groups like Islamic Jihad and stuff like that.
Exactly, but the problem that I see is that you put, especially in Gaza with Hamas and all that stuff, you put all these people into this area, this small area where 80% unemployment. They have barely any drinking water. Electricity's cut off at the will of the Israelis, and people are growing up
and then
only knowing that. They don't know anything
and
different.
then the Israelis on the other side are just taking pot shots at them.
Pot shots at them, they have rocks.
And then you're expecting them not to be angry?
Exactly. They've literally got rocks as their defense.
Yeah.
And the Israelis, IDF, have guns. And they kill medical people, they kill journalists.
Journalists.
They've killed every single type of person. And they made a tweet that said every single, paraphrasing here, every single shot is meant to is a targeted attack, and they know where every shot's going. So if they know where every shot's going, and they are killing journalists and people nurses and
kids,
doctors and whatever, then it just shows their morality and their ethics that they don't have it. They don't have it. They think that they're above the law, which they do. They believe they're above the international law.
But then, and then as well, then you expect these people to turn around and not be angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've in the latest big attacks, when supposedly Hamas rockets went into Israel. Israel apologized, but in the worst way possible, for wiping out a whole family of 8, and the remains. Just last month, the remains were shown of just this massive crevice of where the house was. It just shows the morality of the situation, that there's definitely not two sides to it.
No, of course not.
You've got the 7th biggest army in the world against no army at all, and the 7th biggest army are acting as if they're the victims.
So what do you think? Where should the Palestinians go from here then? You can add an, you can't. You'd never accept the deal.
A deal is unacceptable.
Yeah, it's just.
I think it's
maybe if they consulted the Palestinians once during the process, that would have helped.
Well, that's one of the things that we missed saying, was that the Palestinians weren't part of this deal at all. They weren't conferred to. They weren't asked about it.
The deal is pretty much a wet dream for Israelis.
Exactly. It only suits one side, and even the Times of Israel said it. The deal of the century is a cruel sham deal.
Yeah.
The author was John L. Rosov, or however you pronounce it, and it's not a peace plan. I
even saw Haaretz come out and say something. Write an article about not accepting it.
It's a cruel sham. He says it's a cruel sham of a deal because only one side of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the most extreme right-wing Israeli advocates, is represented, and there was no attempt to engage with the Palestinian leadership and national aspirations. And when coming onto this as Palestine is for the future of Palestine, I think the best thing for them would be better representation in Western media and Western.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But Western media and Western governments. Yeah. And Bernie Sanders came out with a tweet today.
Well, I guess they're going to hope that he gets elected.
So AIPAC, the
American Israeli Political Action Committee.
Yes.
Is that right? I think that's right.
Yes, it is. They I think that they came out with a tweet saying they didn't invite Sanders, or they've never invited Sanders.
I don't think he would go anyway.
Because only the Jewish right in America are right. If you're on the left and you're a Jew, you're neglected and you're not seen as Jewish. You're not Jewish enough or whatever. Especially like Barry Weiss, if you've heard of her, she's so against anti-Semitism, but if it's against Bernie Sanders, no, it's fine. Yeah. Or someone like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I've seen her on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Is that her? Yeah. She's not the brightest, is she?
I think she's intelligent, but she's intelligent in the wrong way. She uses that to attack.
She works for the New York Times. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her. Yeah.
And some journalists in the New York Times are all right, but then they just
it's minority.
Exactly. It's such a wide spectrum. You've got very anyway. So Bernie came out and said, the Israeli people have the right to live in peace and security. So do the Palestinian people. I remain concerned about the platform AIPAC provides for leaders who express bigotry and oppose basic Palestinian rights. For the reason, I will not attend their conference. And then he said, as president, I will support the rights of both Israelis and Palestinians and do everything possible to bring peace and security to the region. So I believe, and I'm not sure if you believe the same, maybe you do, but that is paramount to the Palestinian cause.
Yeah, I agree.
Leadership that will criticize both. You can criticize the Palestinians, Hamas, and whatever, but if you can't criticize the Israeli government and their action towards the Palestinian struggle, then there's no way that anything in that area and the Middle East altogether will resolve.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my opinion.
Did you see? I think it was last week that Abby Martin is suing the state of Georgia
exactly
because they made her
anti-BDS law.
Yeah, it's how undemocratic is that?
But the thing is, it's free speech in America. Free speech is preserved. It should be. It's the Constitution. They should have it.
It's ridiculous.
But unless it's what you want them to say.
Yeah.
These free speech rallies and whatever, they all have them. These free speech rallies at universities. We're allowed to have right-wing, conservative people to speak at them. Milo Yiannopoulos and whatever. We're allowed to have them to speak at them. No one's allowed to attack them or anything. But then when it comes to a left-wing, pro-Palestinian, doesn't mean anti-Israel. Israel should be wiped off.
No, of course, no one thinks that. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. They. The thing is that the culture around the Palestinian topic is so sensitive that you cannot be anti, like, in a sense, anti-Zionist or anti-radical Zionist.
Yeah, I know, of course.
But I don't know. I hope she gets that through, because BDS is not an attack on Israel. It's an attack. No. It's an attack on their policy. Mm-hmm. And that's what people need to make they need to distinguish between that. But yeah,
and it's still freedom of speech to to buy certain things, you know.
So, just back on the sham peace deal that Kushner and Trump and everyone else in the Republican Party supported. The terms for a Palestinian statehood. I think there's 6 main terms, and one of them is, obviously Hamas have got quite a big majority in Gaza. One of the biggest and like one of the first thing that would need to happen is for the Gaza Strip to be disarmed. So disarm the governing authority. That's Hamas, together with the Islamic Jihad movement in Palestine and all Palestinians under their authority. And even they must accept Israel as a Jewish state.
So the problem there is like there are so many things that are just not never going to happen. If Jared Kushner or his team knew anything about Israel, Palestine,
or the Middle East,
literally
the Middle East.
Anything outside of real estate, really.
Exactly.
But even real estate doesn't know much about.
But he's the Middle East sort of.
The problem I think here, like even if Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinian Authority wanted to accept this plan, there's no way they're going to get Hamas to give up their weapons.
Exactly.
And even if Hamas did give up their weapons, Israel would be in there like before the drop of a hat. You know, they'll, like as soon as Palestine puts their weapons down, Israel will invade and occupy the area again. And you know, it's also it's dangerous for the people of Gaza to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And then even if they did, you know, give up their weapons, you're asking Hamas, which is very anti-Israel, to recognize the state of Palestine, the state of Israel, before Israel is willing to consider
them.
So they're not getting anything back.
But the thing is that they've got control. Israel wants control. They're pulling the strings in Palestine if they would accept it and whatever. The third one is refrain from any attempt to join any international organization without the consent of the state of Israel. Mm-hmm. So anything that they want to do,
it's ridiculous. Yeah,
has to go through Israel. It's like they don't have any authority over their country. That just goes against the fabric of any country. That's not what Israel should be. That's not what Israel should push for.
And I wonder if will that mean that will go for the UN? Will Palestine be able to join the UN as a member state?
Well, they will be accepted because
we'll have to go through. But how? It has to go through Israel. So Israel could say no.
They can veto it.
Yeah.
And that's
they can't veto it. They could just in this peace plan they can say no. And the US could veto it.
Yeah. Yeah. And but anyway, so there's too many rules,
There's too many flaws.
Yeah, there's too many roadblocks in this plan. It was definitely, and I can say this unequivocally, it was definitely made so that the Palestinians can reject it and they can push the agenda that the Palestinians do not want peace and the Israelis do in return, in actual reality.
Yeah.
It's the Palestinians who want their land and they will take peace if their standards and their are met.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the 1967 borders. It was literally.
Well, I think if you're looking at like the way I like to look at the Israel Palestine, it's really eye opening. If you think about Israel since even the 60s or even the 50s, like since 1948, and if you think of it as Israel, their one goal is to control everything west of the Jordan River, then everything makes much more sense. Yeah. You know, like if you look at the map in the peace plan. Up to where Jericho is, and then just across to it, like where the pretty much Palestine ends
Yeah.
and starts, there's a huge area of land that Israel's going to annex.
Yeah.
And I heard Noam Chomsky speaking that, you know,